I've been pondering about is the scene that took place in the Garden of Eden. And history says, or at least biblical history says, that in the Garden of Eden, the God, who we know was the reptilians, created Adam and Eve. And Claudia, you were saying that Adam and Eve were the first smart monkeys. And so once they managed to clone Adam, who was the final perfection that they wanted, then after that, then they created Eve, and they said that Eve was created out of a rib from Adam. And most scholars today say that word used for rib is still unknown, so they're guessing that the term for rib really meant DNA, part of the cloning process. So we know that Eve was cloned out of Adam, and Adam was kind of perfected as a smart monkey. Once the humans were created by the reptilians, then there's the story that that Adam and Eve ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and the reptilians or the Orions were really upset because the story goes that since they did whatever they did, the reptilians said, well, they have become like us, knowing the difference between good and evil. And so my supposition is, let me know what you think, but my supposition about that is, I don't think eating an apple had anything to do with it, but I think the Orions were kind of shocked that it didn't take Adam and Eve and the human beings very long to realize that they were actually created for the purpose, for two reasons. One was to be slave labor, to go into the mines and mine gold. And the second reason, that they were being created as food for the reptilians, and they became consciously aware of that. And that's my idea of what they're becoming, their awareness of being, having that awareness was probably shocking to the Orions, and it resulted in them being kicked out of the Garden of Eden, and the reptilians had to go to Plan B, because all of a sudden these new created beings became aware of what the Orions were up to. The thing that I've really been studying is how animal sacrifices got started. And there's a story in the Bible that says, after Adam and Eve were kicked out of the garden, the reptilians, Orions, set up a system of sacrifices. They demanded sacrifices from the humans. And so it turns out that Abel had a flock of animals, and he took some of his animals and did a blood sacrifice to the reptilians, and they accepted it. And it turns out that Cain, the other son, was a crop farmer. He raised crops, and so he made a sacrifice for himself, and so he cut down a bunch of his crops and offered that to the Orions, and the Orions rejected it. They said, no, we don't want crops. We don't want green plants as a sacrifice. We will only accept blood sacrifices. And of course, the story goes that after that, Cain became so jealous that he wound up murdering Abel, and that's the story. Now that we've established part of the reason why the reptilians wanted the animal sacrifices and didn't want the crop sacrifices. Now, what I find interesting is the whole concept of the Jewish religion and the Christian religion to this day. The whole purpose of the sacrifice, the blood sacrifices, and the Christian religion is about wiping out original sin. So what would you say that the original sin was? Now I'm leaning toward the idea that what the religious people call original sin, it wasn't eating the apple. That wasn't the original sin. I think the original sin was becoming aware of the true nature of the reptilians. That's what I think the original sin was. Those religions that say that you have to do all these sacrifices or believe that somebody like Jesus Christ died for your sins, and those blood sacrifices, especially the blood sacrifice of Jesus, does away with the sins of the world. To me, what that really means is you're not doing away with the sins of the world. What you're doing away with is the awareness of, you're basically agreeing to, I don't want to have any awareness of the truth. I just want to be ignorant and spend endless cycles of reincarnation. That's what doing, getting rid of those sins is, because when the sin took place, they became aware. And doing away with sin is like, I'm just going to be a dumb idiot for the rest of my life, and I don't want to learn anything, and I'm going to agree to that. So basically, it's believing in any system that does away with sin is agreeing to be dumbed down and tap-lined to where you'll never find out what the truth is, other than doing the new you.
Yeah, we we spent the couple of days of holiday with a whole bunch of family members, and of course, they're into all that stuff. And we got to the end of their program, and one of the gentlemen, he plays the guitar real well, and so they hand out all these leaflets with all their Christmas carols that they can sing, and so they started playing, and I'm looking at you, looking at me, and he said, "Well, I said, well, what the heck do you want to do, kid? Sing along with Dick." And he says, all of a sudden, he says, "No, let's just new you through the whole thing." That's a great idea.
I never had so much fun.
So we're sitting over there. There's like 20 people, right? They're all in a big circle, and we're sitting there and we're keeping tune with the music and all, and we're just all the song, everyone.
And you got the jingle bells and everything.
Yeah. And finally, one of her uncles.
That was my cousin's husband.
Anyway, he'd been kind of hearing up because he was close enough to it. And when we're getting to the last song, and he's really looking at us, It's like, so finally we got to the end of it, and he says, "What the heck are you guys doing over there?" Well, what do you say in front of a bunch of Christians, So we just smiled, and of course later we were talking. You don't realize we changed the whole consciousness of a whole bunch. They don't know it. So yeah, this is some powerful stuff.
Yeah. Sounds like fun.
Oh, it was. I have never had so much fun Christmas caroling because I never enjoyed it. The first time in my whole life I enjoyed it. I know, so I shouldn't be laughing. It's shame on me.
No, that's fine.
And it was fun.
Yeah, I many years ago I was with Sammy Thompson, who's with the corporation. She's a harp player, but we had both lived in Sedona at the time, and we kind of made fun of Christmas carols as we sang them down the street. We kind of sang, we kind of sang in a country twang, silent, that night. And had we known the new you, we could have sung that all up and down the streets.
Yeah, it just popped in my head because I never liked the Christmas carols, and I did pretty much what you did. I would kind of make fun of them too because they were kind of annoying.
Well, they can be, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's a lot of
one or two that were okay. But...
Yeah, and then there's all those different variations of the same song,
Oh yeah.
So
I think the only one I ever liked was the Little Drummer Boy.
Oh, that's Bob's favorite.
Yeah, that's the only one I like, and it more than likely it's because of the drums. Actually, I know it is. If it weren't for the drums, I wouldn't care for that either.
Yeah, it's drums make the song, that's for sure.
Yeah. If it weren't for the drums,
It's in 4/4 time, common time.
The other night. Anyway, well, I'm enjoying your show, everybody. I'm on vacation, sort of. I'm furloughed.
Okay, great. Well,
yeah.
Thank you.
Well, maybe not so great, but thank you for joining the show. Well, anyway, I'd like to change directions because I only have about 15 minutes before I have to go to work. And this is I'm gonna pull you in for some more questions, Duane. We took your advice about a movie that we watched the other day. We actually went up to the bookstore and Barnes and Noble, and we actually found it on the shelf. And the name of the movie is Knowing. Now, I don't know if everybody here has watched that or not, but the movie Knowing stars Nicolas Cage, and it's about a major catastrophic event caused by a solar flare from the sun. Well, that movie really hit home to me because I have been listening to Ed Dames. Ed Dames was a guy that's very well known in the government and military circles. He was a high-ranking officer, and he specialized in remote viewing. And has a lot of events where he invites people and he shows people how to do remote viewing. And basically, the guy's been doing it for years and years and years. And for anybody that doesn't know what remote viewing is they take a whole group of people and they the moderator of the remote viewing session is you'll have a whole bunch of volunteers who will sit in an audience, and you give them a pad of paper, and the moderator writes down something about a particular date, event, or what have you, and he writes it down, he notates it, and he tells the people in the audience, okay, tell me everything about it. And nobody knows what it is. Only the moderator knows what it is. It's kept a secret. The people in the audience that are doing the remote viewing are told to get in like a meditative state and write down what comes across in their mind. And it turns out that in a good group of remote viewers, it's kind of like accessing the record of probability on the causal plane. And what Ed Dames found was there's a whole bunch of events coming up in the future, and we know that events can change. Even Paul Twitchell discovered that, not everything is written in concrete. But Ed Dames explained that there's a whole bunch of events, and you can see these events, and you can't tell when and if they're going to happen. But all you can do is tell the sequence of events. Now, for example, one of the things that Ed Dames' group of remote viewers saw, they saw an event which turned out to be Fukushima in Japan. It was such a strong return and such a positive identification of the earthquake and the tragedy that happened in Japan that Ed Dames actually went public, and he called the administrators of Japan and told them, you're going to have a major event that's going to wipe out your power plant over there. You better take cover and make alternate plans to protect it just in case, this really happens. And of course, they ignored them. And then today, Fukushima is a real event. And one of the things that Ed Dames came across, he also saw the New Madrid fault line going, and just like we talked about last time, where the Mississippi River gets to be 50 miles wide from St. Louis all the way down to New Orleans. And anyway, the other event that Ed Dames and his group became aware of was the kill shot. And the kill shot, as he explains, is a solar flare off the sun, which is exactly what was in that movie Knowing. The same identical event that he was predicting. And Ed Dames was so sure and positive that solar flare was going to happen that he actually left the military, because when he was in the military, he was not allowed to speak of these future events. So he actually quit the military and went into public circles and started doing DVDs. And I bought one of them. It's called Major Ed Dames Presents Exposing the Agenda. And he talks about all these upcoming things, and that kill shot is one of his big things. If you go to his website, you'll see the kill shot. Well, that's exactly what was shown in the movie Knowing, where the solar flare hits the earth and wipes out a lot of people. Well, because of that, and because it was such, the leaders of governments worldwide believed it was so probable that it was going to happen, they decided to take all their annual budgets. Almost every major country in the world, not only the United States, but Great Britain, China, you name it. They all started building these huge underground caverns and cities where they thought that if they went underground, that they would be able to survive that what they called the kill shot, just like in the movie. So all of a sudden, all this money disappears out of the budgets, and the U.S. government practically goes bankrupt. They ran up a debt of like $17 trillion, and China has just gone ballistic with all the money they're spending on their underground cities, and Great Britain, and I'm sure India and all those other countries are too. Well, anyway, there is a government researcher who's been around doing government research for like 20 or 30 years, his whole life, and his name is Bob Fletcher. And Bob Fletcher heard about all this, and he heard about the kill shot, and he heard about all these people all these governments going underground, building all these underground cities to avoid the kill shot. And he made a 2-part DVD. I have a copy of it. It's called Incoming, with Bob Fletcher, disc 1 and disc 2. And he says, "What you do not know will kill you." That's what he says right on the DVD. And in this DVD, he actually got people to go in and film these underground cities. And they show all these tunnels and these cities, and there are areas where you have these big caverns that are like, miles across, and they have all these, they have the special lighting, and they're growing crops. You feel like you're right out in the middle of a 3,000 or 5,000 acre farm field. I mean, it's huge high ceilings that are like, a quarter mile above the terrain, and they have special lighting, and they're growing all these crops, where they just hydroponically, and they have these huge aquariums, built in the rock walls, where they have salmon and you name it, every kind of fish possible. And he says that they have so many underground tunnels that you can go underground at a military base out in Nevada, and you can come up in Washington, D.C. I mean, it's a labyrinth of underground tunnels, and these drivers that were taking these photographs would be driving these truck drivers, semi-drivers would be delivering the goods, and they'd take pictures as they went by, and wherever you looked, like, there would be these big areas where they had just tons and tons food stored, the kind of food that, good for 25 or 50 years. And they had enough machinery and manufacturing equipment, to last a lifetime. They had like thousands of machine lathes and drill presses and you name it. They had all the manufacturing tools. And so it's really kind of fascinating, all this stuff that they've done. And so that's where I would like you to comment on that, Duane. You asked us to watch that movie, so how do you see all this? I mean, was there any particular thing that you wanted us to get out of watching that movie and seeing all this stuff?
Well, it's just like you said, what's going on. Those are, those are what the remote viewers are seeing, and what comes out from that, like Fukushima. That was a big blackmail too, and of course they did an atomic weapon and HARP on the fault line. That's because we had a tsunami warning here. There was no tsunami because it was directed right there, and what the remote viewer saw was the planning of the operation. You see, that becomes a little bit different than a natural adjustment, we'll say, with the Earth. It's scratching its back or something, and there's a little earthquake or a movement of the plates or something. But these are planned operations. And besides, I've seen his stuff. I've seen his stuff advertised many, many times on the internet. He was a major, wasn't he? Major Ed Dames.
Yes.
Yeah. And I've seen this many times. I never looked at it, but I understand what's going on. But for the most part, he's seen these planned operations. So anybody can go to the real side and see what's going on, just like the Deceptors and the Reptilians and everybody else. They're seeing some of what we're planning to do, etc., and they don't like it, and they're trying to offset it. This is what takes a little bit more time with most everything, because they're seeing also what we're trying to set up. So, as these things are agreed to, just like Fukushima and anything else, and this is what I saw a long time ago, was the Madras fault, etc. Because what they're seeing is it's a planned operation. You see, this is what they want to do, that they're getting ready to do. And yes, the whole Earth has been honeycombed with tunnels for the longest time. And yeah, this is where most people are thinking to run underground, etc. But this is an interesting place, and it's like whatever's next. And so this is where I'm deciding a real universal position from what the consciousness of this, the collective consciousness of what people are agreeing to. And when they see these things also, and they are going to happen, they're putting out the warnings there, of course, and we're putting out warnings too. But in a way, they're in agreement with it also, because they're preparing for this. And preparing for what? So you're going to go underground? And what's the end result of that, etc. So again, it all becomes very interesting. But again, these are planned operations, and just like somebody makes plans to build a house, you see what they're going to do by the plans that they've drawn up. You see, so these things are seen, and unless they change directions or whatever, these events will come about. Yes.
Well, thank you, Duane. Since I'm running out of time, I'd like to share a couple dreams with you. On Sunday, I dreamed I was taking off in a jet, and I just barely got airborne, and I had to make a really hard right turn to keep from hitting opposite direction traffic that just showed up, just coming right at me opposite direction. So to keep from hitting them, I had to make a real sharp right turn, just barely got airborne. Then I woke up from that dream.
Well, again, there's just like you said, opposite direction. There's the opposition, right? They don't want you to continue on the direction you're going. So they're going to, in the best way they can, alter your direction, right? But you got a jet plane, so you can make a quick left and go right back on and, just kind of go around them. But yeah, there's the opposition showing up. They see what you're doing.
Now, I got a little bit down last week, and because it didn't seem like I was doing anything meaningful. So I asked Rebazar to show me if I'm really doing anything meaningful, for the new presentation. And he gave me this dream that I thought was kind of interesting. I dreamed I was at a golf course and I had a special driver, for teeing off. It was a very special driver, and the whole world was watching in disbelief because they couldn't believe how far I could hit a golf ball with this special driver. And I remember there were so many people, there was a huge crowd, and the real guides had to hold back the crowd so that I could get the job done. And then I woke up from that dream.
Well, that's self-evident, right?
Yeah, I just thought, well, it looks like I'm doing something, right?
There you go. You made a right turn. Now you're doing something right, yes.
There we go.
Your wife will confirm that, yes.
Yeah.
All right, and then I had another dream. Last time I talked, I had that one dream where a tornado formed out of the clouds. Well, I had another dream where it was another more or less clear day, and a tornado just formed out of nowhere. And instead of going around the backside and coming up from behind me, this one came right at me, just full steam right at me, but it passed over harmlessly.
Well, now you have the awareness to handle it, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Besides, tornadoes are fun.
Yeah, they are.
There was actually a movie with, it might have been Patrick Swayze or whatever, where he was a tornado rider. It might have been a Disney movie, I forget. But yeah, tornadoes can be fun.
Now, here's a dream that is kind of interesting, because in this dream, I dreamed I was in the construction business. And in my dream, I realized it used to be in the construction business, you could buy a truckload of lumber, you could put up a building and find carpenters to do the finish work. And now you can buy truckloads of lumber, bring it in, you can stick build it, but you can't find anybody to do the finishing work. And the same is true about concrete work. You can call up 2 or 3 different places to deliver concrete in their big concrete trucks, and they'll pour it on the site, they'll put it out about where you want it, but you can't find anybody that will come in and do the finish work. So that was the end of the dream. It seems like, and I'm tying that into the new presentation that, we have a lot of people that will do the stick building and deliver the goods, but there's nobody to do the final finishing. So what's your comment on that, Duane?
Well, again, this is where you learn to see beyond and decide from what all you've known, more so than the experiences you've had. So again, just like your experiences, you're given the demonstration and you're in the experiences of what's possible, you see. And so for the most part, just like you look at the membership, you look at the corporation you went through and all that, again, that was elementary school. And for the most part, most people, because they've been indoctrinated and taught to be literal, this is all they see. So they feel that, for the most part, the world has basically been constructed. So now it's just ideas that, good sounding ideas that people share. And they're thinking that, oh, gee, I know this and I know that. No, this is all this and whatever. but the actuality of it, or, you know, and then when certain things are brought up, people, you know, they're usually black and white. It's like, well, I don't believe that, or I haven't experienced that, or no one said that, or that's never been done before. You see the framework of things. In other words, people will do the framework, but when it comes to the reality of what life is, yes, that is far too real. And see, that's where we are. You know, that's what I focus on. But again, who can see it? And what's being demonstrated to you is exactly that. You're in creation with creating the references, but just like in the corporation, you know, for the most part, that's as far as most people go, because again, they're so used to creation, even though you know about the real universes, but to really recognize them and how to you know, see what's going on and perceive all that, yeah, that's a whole different situation altogether. So again, most people will, you know, just like in the corporation where, you know, being a member is very convenient because then people can get on with their personal life because that comes first, you see? So what you're seeing is so, and that is, yes, it's fun to be involved. I see what we're doing simply as certain things to go through as a reference. This is not the end result.
Well, according to my dream, there's a severe shortage of people out there to do that, and I guess you would agree with that. And then this morning I had one dream, and I can't remember the details, but all I remember is all the electrical power on the planet stopped. And then that reminded me, you wanted to watch that movie of Michael Rennie, The Day the Earth Stood Still, I think it was. Was that one that you wanted Sandy to watch?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was it? Okay.
And that's what happened in that movie. They stopped all the electric, so no cars or anything electric would operate. Did you want to make a comment about that movie or that event? Is there something coming up or something like that we should know about?
Yes, and pay attention very closely.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you, Sandy, Bob, and everybody. Yes, it's all for you. We'll see you next time. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Bye, everybody.